wrapping things up as we get closer to the NBA draft, checking in on a few guests to add into the conversation as we discuss these prospects, get to know them a little bit better. The better way to do that, of course, is to reach out to some people that are experts in the field of college basketball, and in particular, a particular player, an individual player in that particular program. So, of course, on this Tuesday that we have here, we're going to hang out for a little bit and talk with head coach Scott Drew of Baylor men's basketball to pick his brain about yet another lottery pick potentially for his basketball program as he walks into year number, what is Scott Drew in, like 24, 25, wow.
Somewhere he spent like a year at Valparaiso and then moved pretty quickly.
So he's been there for a long time. So that's what we're going to do today. But first, as always, Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, I'm Devon Givens. Bree, our president of basketball ops, is hanging out with us. All of you joining us in the chat, and we have a good one coming up. So without further ado, as we check in now, let's get to it. All right, joining us here on the PHLY Sixers podcast, along with Derek, Kyle, I'm Devon, and we have with us the head coach of the Baylor Bears and the 2021 national champion Baylor Bears, head coach Scott Drew. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. I love you guys. I know you know your basketball, so fire away. Give me your tough ones.
Well, first, Scott, once the Sixers landed the third overall pick in the lottery in May, the conversation went a lot of different ways, and one of your players, of course, VJ Edgecombe, is a big topic of conversation here for a lot of Sixer fans. But even though he's the topic of conversation, a lot may not know his game overall. So if you could, for us to start out, who is he as a player, and what potentially could we expect if he is, in fact, joining the Philadelphia 76ers in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of times when you think of a top pick, you're thinking of a guy that scores 30 each and every night. And I think VJ's capable of that, but I think he's a lot more similar to like a Dwayne Wade, Russell Westbrook when they were younger. And really, because of his athleticism and his willingness to affect the game in multiple areas, I think he's more like a triple-double guy, a double-double guy, a stat sheet stuffer guy, than somebody that's going to come out and get 30 each and every night and not really help the team in other areas. So the best compliment you can give VJ is he's a winner. And he cares about winning first and foremost. He can affect the game in a lot of different areas to help you win, and that's rare because a lot of guys nowadays, it's they're happy when they score 30 and not happy when the team wins or whatnot. And he can score 4, and if the team wins and he plays hard, he feels great about it.
Scott, to that point, we've heard from all over the basketball community. VJ, very hard worker. VJ, big character guy. Like, people speak glowingly about him. I guess, how did you see that show up for you guys during your year with him? And I guess, what would a team drafting him expect from him in terms of the culture and the leadership stuff?
Well, I think the first time we heard about him, his AAU coach said, I think I got a player for you. And we did some follow-up, and he was playing in Adidas in Italy, and they couldn't find him one morning, and they were checking in, waiting to get checked in, and he was in the baggage area with the bags reading his Bible on Sunday morning. And he's just a guy that's a high-character young man that's an energy giver, a great teammate, a servant, and one thing that's rare is for someone his age to actually not only know that he belongs in the room, but not scared to speak up and hold teammates accountable, not in a bad way, but in a good way, as far as, hey, that's not winning basketball, or this isn't what we need to do. And again, I think he just gets the big picture, and that level of maturity is different for someone of a younger age. Normally you see that in 25, 26-year-olds, in college in 22 and 23-year-olds.
VJ, he bounced around a little bit, obviously in the Bahamas, then played a little bit in Florida, but it really wasn't until he got to New York that it seemed like he came on the radar for like a high level, top in the country kind of recruit. As someone who recruited him, I guess, what do you think fueled that rise, and how does that then, portend to his future development going forward?
Well, I think similar to like Buddy Hield coming over, somebody that his rise happened quickly, and a lot of reasons is because people don't grow up with all the resources that you have and the opportunities you have in the States at a young age when you're 12, 14, 16 years old. And I think VJ is somebody that his best basketball is definitely ahead of him. But somebody that God's given a lot of talents and abilities to, and the more time he's able to spend on his craft with all the resources, the sky's the limit as far as upside. I mean, we recruited Buddy, and Buddy, when he first came over, was a pretty good athlete, but next thing I knew, he was Big 12 all-time leading scorer. And I mean, VJ's somebody like that, and I think his trajectory, why so many NBA teams are interested, is they see the comp and the comparisons to the Russell Westbrook, Dwayne Wade as far as athleticism, skill set, and as his body matures and as he continues to grow in his basketball experience, as long as his priorities stay his priorities, his circle stays small like it has been, he's going to have an unbelievable career as long as he stays injury free.
Scott, you've had a lot of pros come through your program that have had long NBA careers, top 20 picks, lottery picks. Davion Mitchell comes to mind. We'll talk about one later here in Philadelphia currently in Jared Butler. But what gives you the confidence, though, of all the things that you just laid out for us here early, that VJ can come in, especially in a situation potentially like Philadelphia where they expect to get back to the postseason and he can come in and make an immediate impact, whatever that may look like?
Yeah, I think it was mentioned about the Bahamas, and I mean, he almost took them to the Olympics. And when I say he was a part of it, but he was a big part of it. And it's hard for younger people to do those kind of things. With us, great first year in the Big 12, and somebody that exceeded a lot of people's expectations, just from the standpoint how he was able to affect the game on both ends of the court, and somebody that in high school he was always good offensively, but I mean, I think you looked for us, and his ability to play on pick and roll, his ability to play point guard for us, his ability to shoot the ball all really increased as the season went on. And I think that continues as he continues to play and develop. But as far as after this draft, we're going to be the only program to have a top 19 pick 5 straight years. We're one of 3 programs to win a game in the tournament since 2019. We're one of 2 programs to be a top 3 seed the last 5 seasons. So I look at all that. Not a cheat code, but I mean the things that we value equal winning. And VJ has those characteristics. And I think you guys have seen a lot of talented players go to a lot of NBA teams. The ones that are successful are able to maintain the priorities and characteristics that resemble winning. I think Jay Wright, one of the best coaches to ever coach college basketball, you see his guys' success. And I think they did a great job, not just looking at talent, but character and work ethic and winning capabilities, and identifying those. And those guys have had a lot of success in the NBA, and I think our guys have had success because of the same thing.
To that point, a couple of the Sixers' recent success stories, Tyrese Maxey, reputation as a hard worker. Jared McCain last year, reputation as a really hard worker. There are a lot of questions locally about, VJ's 6'4", it's already a couple of guards here. How would he fit into that picture? I guess, from your experience, you guys ran multi-guard lineups and different things. How do you think VJ would handle scaling up and maybe defending some bigger guys, and how confident are you he could fit into a crowded backcourt situation, we'll say, here in Philly?
Well, I think first and foremost, we played against one of those guys, and we recruited one of those guys, so I know him very well. and sat in my office, and I knew Maxie was going to be a heck of a player now. And a lot of the same characteristics Jared Butler and VJ possess as Maxie does. So with that, its position was basketball. I know a lot of people want size and length, but I think a lot of people still value assist to turnover rate. They value someone who can guard 1 through 4. They value someone who can space the floor. And at the end of the day, 76ers have always been able to assemble a talented roster to fit their fan base. And what I mean by that is you guys want great basketball. You expect great basketball. Their front office will put that together. But I just tell you, on a coaching front, usually it starts with great guard play at whatever level. And if you got a crowded backcourt, that's better than someone that doesn't have a backcourt. I can promise that. And then coaches will figure out ways to always put their team in positions to be successful. But I know we won 23 in a row, 19 in a row, 21 in a row during a span because of great backcourts. And you mentioned Davion, Jared's with you guys, but VJ's somebody that a stat sheet stuffer, can affect the game in a lot of different areas. And he's going to have a great career if it's with you guys or with another team. It's a low risk pick. And what I mean by that is high character, great work ethic. He's not going to self-sabotage himself, and he's not going to be somebody as he continues to progress. As long as he stays true to who he is. In injuries, no one can predict that. But if he stays injury free, I mean that's a 12, 15-year career right there.
So what you're saying is he doesn't mind picking up 75 feet. and dogging a ball handler up the floor.
He'll pick up 200 feet if he's required to win it. I mean, they check him, he'll guard him. So my point is, winners win, and they find a way to win, and they care about winning. I know. Coaching, we all get enamored with talent. We all get enamored with numbers, but winning still trumps everything. So pick guys who win.
This was sort of touched on in pretty much every answer you gave, I think, but it's also one of, we can sit here and watch and come to a reasonable conclusion on what players are good at, what they need to improve upon. But the off-court stuff, the work habits, all of that is a little tougher to gauge. So I guess just what can you say to contextualize just like how he approaches his craft, how he approaches development, like what can you give us there, I guess?
Yeah, that another great question. Again, that's where I think every staff, every team gets to put emphasis on what's important to them. Last I checked, basketball is still a team game. So who plays well with others? Who's a great teammate people want to play with? Who makes their teammates better? Then who cares about winning, will do things that required in winning, and who has the work ethic to keep getting better. But I think sometimes we all put emphasis on different things, and until the game's a one-on-one game, it's still who's a great teammate and can win and make his teammates better. That's as great a quality as anything else. And the work ethic, nobody's at the NBA level if they don't appreciate or value their craft. So they're all gonna put in time. Now, what distractions are gonna not allow them to be able to get to their full potential? And then again, who's gonna make their teammates better around them? Because I think you guys want to win a championship. So you want a guy who can score 30 and put up great numbers, look flashy, or you want a guy who's going to cut down nets. At the end of the day, it's all about that. You want to win the last game.
Baylor head coach Scott Drew joining us here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
Scott, now we got to ask you about former player Jared Butler. Obviously won a national title with him. He we thought he might actually come to Philadelphia on draft night a few years back, but ends up here this season in a trade. I guess, what's it been like watching him and others certainly, but watching him go on to have a pro career and how close in touch are you with Jared and these other guys who come through your program and then, obviously go on to great things and professionally?
Well, I think first of all, let's start with the best ability is availability, and Jared Butler not only won the last game when he was here, but he was available, and somebody that has really improved during his journey in the NBA. The game slowed down for him there, but somebody that's capable on and off the ball to affect the game. He's improved his defense. But Jared's a winner as well. He won in high school. He won here. And he's somebody that is going to win or find a way to help a team win. And a great ambassador. At Baylor, he graduated in 3 years from our business school. Was male scholar athlete of the year. Was co-MVP of the Big 12. One won the media, the other won the coaches with Cade Cunningham. Cade's a pretty good player. Jared's a Final Four MVP. And somebody again that can affect the game in a variety of ways. What I found is there's really a lot of great players. And who's given a chance normally, there's certain people take advantage of that. And I think Jared's one of those guys. Right now, Philly got him at the time where he's able to help teams win. Can he carry a team? No, not many players, but 1, 2 per team maybe can carry a team. But he can definitely help a team win. And he's somebody that is great for an NBA program. He's great for a city. Shoot, he taught second grade Sunday school here at Baylor. So, I mean, you win with guys like that. And at the end of the day, you got to have guys that stay injury free and can stay on the court. And at the end of the day, Jared finds a way to do that.
Scott, I have one more quick one on VJ. He struggled shooting the ball at the start of the season, and then I think really found his form probably around January or so, and the results from there as a shooter and as a scorer in general were much better. I guess, what did you see? What do you think helped him, pull out of that tough start? And, how much of that was making tweaks and how much of it was just he's a talented player who just needed to find his footing at the college level?
Yeah, his shot changed from his high school to when he first began with us. He attributed it to spending time in the weight room. And in his release point, it became more like a catapult above his head instead of in front. And again, like, what value do you guys put on coachability? It was one meeting, showed him film, high school to where it's at now. And he's like, we got to change it. Yep, let's go. And now if you shoot a million shots one way, it's going to take 2 million to change it. So it's not like but again, you want somebody coachable. Let me show you. Great, I see it. Let's change it. We'll work on it tomorrow. No, let's do it right now. So again, I think it took a little time to offset that because he'd spent a lot of time shooting it different. And as I shared, that kind of happened over the end of his high school season to the beginning of our season. So by the time middle of the season got going, VJ's going to be 100% confident will be a 40% three-point shooter during the NBA. So because he's got a beautiful shot. It was just he had a hiccup in it, and he was great in high school as a shooter as well. Now the trick for him is again just adjusting to the speed, the length of the NBA. Yep. His best basketball is going to be ahead of him. But what I love about VJ, he's somebody that's really loyal, and that's another person that you can have in part of your NBA franchise for 15 years. There's a lot of people, grass is always greener. He's not that type of guy. I think he wants to go. He wants to leave a mark, and he wants to make a difference, and he's where his feet are.
All right, Scott, final one for us so we can get you out of here, man. I want to make some of the viewers and listeners, certainly not you and not us, feel a little old here because a former Sixer that maybe a lot of people don't know, his son has committed to your program, and that is Andre Iguodala Jr. That is crazy that Andre Iguodala Jr. is going to college. We remember him as a young kid running around here in Philadelphia with his dad. So what we talk about scouting reports. Many Sixer fans may not know his scouting report as a player. So what kind of player are you getting in Andre Iguodala Jr.?
First and foremost, Father Day is coming up this weekend, and Andre's done an amazing job as a father. Yeah. His son is a high-quality young man, and he's a winner on and off the court, great in the classroom, treats people with the utmost respect. He went to Link year, and people couldn't stop bragging about the impact he had on that school up there. With that, he's somebody that's just young. And what I mean by young is his body hadn't filled out. And after he spends a little time in the weight room, and as you know, some guys that are 18, they look more like they're 14 than 18 that look like they're 26. And he's just a younger guy right now that as his body fills out and he matures. God's given him a lot of talent, and his dad's given him a lot of great characteristics. So it's going to be a joy coaching him, and somebody in the next couple of years hopefully have a big impact on Baylor basketball, and something you guys will see from Philly.
Well, maybe we'll be reaching out to you again to talk about Andre Iguodala Jr. Who knows? We'll see how all that plays out. Scott Drew, thank you so much for spending some time with us, giving us some knowledge on VJ Edgecombe, and happy Father's Day to you. As we say, early happy Father's Day.
Appreciate you guys. You guys have a blessed day. Get a good Philly cheesesteak from me this afternoon.
We'll send it to you, man.
Thank you so much for your time, Scott. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And, of course, we'd like to thank Baylor head coach Scott Drew once again, just like we'd like to thank our good friends at Ace Hardware Home Services for helping to make this show possible. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they get ready for the next job, they remember what to bring. They bring experience. They're local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding. They listen to your goals, jobs not completed until you are satisfied. They bring helpful to your home so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options best suited for your home and budget. And, of course, Ace Hardware Home Services. They're local. Their teams live and serve in your community and are dedicated to keeping their neighbors comfortable in their homes. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
We also want to tell you about Art of Words because a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this local Philly artist proves it to the point where we have had a Art of Words picture painting in here for literally a year before he became a sponsor. I have one now at home. They are fantastic, a great way to spruce up any office or home. Each piece is made entirely from handwritten words like every eagle, forming the link in every Phillies, shaping Citizens Bank Park. It's not just sports. He's captured Boathouse Row, Reading Terminal, the Philly skyline, the Jersey Shore, and more. These are unforgettable gifts for sports fans, grads, for housewarmings, especially with Father's Day coming up. He started selling art at the K-Lot and Rice's Flea Market and credits Philly fans for launching his career. They're available for dozens of cities and teams as well. There's something there for everyone. These pieces are conversation starters. You'll spot a name, then another, and soon everyone's reliving their favorite sports memories. He's been featured on the Today Show, ESPN, and TED Talks. Check it out at artofwords.com. That's artofwords.com. Use code PHLY at checkout for 15% off your purchase.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Appreciate everybody sitting through that. Hope you enjoyed it. We see a lot of activity going on there in the chat, Kyle, because as we know, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, even VJ Edgecombe, a lot of people go in a different direction of who they like, what type of player they like, what height they like of a player. Even so, when it comes to who they want the Sixers to pick at number 3. But just to get back to it with Scott Drew, what stood out to you in what we just talked with him for about a good 20 minutes?
Well, so a couple of things. One, he emphasized something that I think is very hard to put a label or quantify it right, but the degree of caring about winning, right? When we talk about things like character, work ethic, the things that make up a player's personality, these things are, if you're just running a stats draft model, if you're just basing everything on here's what I saw in a game, here's what I saw in a highlight reel, those things are very hard to put your hand on, but they ultimately end up separating a lot of these guys, right? And so part of why we've talked about VJ as potential number 3 pick is when you talk to the people who have worked with him, been around him, they all give just glowing reviews about him as a person and a player. The stuff that I really liked that Scott said was, he's a 18, 19-year-old freshman, right? But he wasn't afraid in those team meetings, in the huddles and whatnot to say, this isn't right, or this needs to get done. And the things you hear about him as a leader all come back really strong, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, I thought he gave us some interesting insight on the shooting stuff during the season, right? Where he said, start of the year, VJ's placement of his shot, he's catapulting it a little bit, and he was in the process of working through some changes to his mechanics. And not only did he, move past that and shoot better the rest of the year, but the way he described it was, we showed him film in one meeting, and VJ's like, I got to clean that up. Let's go work on this. And so it's hearing feedback. It's seeing something happen in a scout, in a review of your game film, and not just saying, I need to get better, but immediately putting that instinct into tangible work, right? Getting in the gym with a coach, getting in the gym with a trainer, or just, being in an empty gym and getting shots up yourself. Those are the types of things that at the end of the day, that's the kind of thing that is going to separate some of these guys, right? It's not that VJ or Trey or Ace or some of these other guys are inherently more talented, right? If they were all stats on a page, they might come out equivalent. It's the dedication and the specified dedication that will ultimately allow one or a few of these guys to rise to the top of this class.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it a lot in our show yesterday. When was the show? The mailbag one, where it's a lot of so many of these players are they averaged 6 and 3 as a freshman, or they averaged 7 and 4, trying to predict which ones then, are able to develop and figure out the game of basketball and get the most of their tools is really tough. And that's why I think when you have people like this on, who have been around these players, you try to veer towards that, because we can all watch a player in college and be like, all right, he can do this well, he needs to improve this, but who actually has a chance of improving that? Hearing people talk about how he took feedback on his jumper, went back, turned it around. I think he shot 37% from 3 over his final, after the final 8 or so games of the season. Yeah. It's a pretty good number and a lot closer to where he was in college, but just the receptiveness to the feedback, the receptiveness to coaching, the willingness to put in the extra works for it, I think it says a lot. And again, there's a lot of players, if you get to be a high-level recruit like this and a high draft prospect, most players are on that positive end of the spectrum. You don't get there without a lot of work, but VJ really does seem like an outlier in that regard.
Seems like a coachable guy, and you talked about it even going all the way back to the Olympics when you talk about hearing the stuff that you heard about him, even all the way back to the Bahamas.
Yeah, it would be one thing because look, we bring his coach on, and we're expecting to get the positive side of things, right? We're not expecting Scott Drew or any other coach to come on and say, boy, he really sucked at this, or I just don't believe in him in this. So you take that with a grain of salt. I think the important thing with VJ, as far as the background stuff, we just consistently hear this stuff, right? It's at every level. It's with every team. I've brought up on the show, Carmelo Anthony's son played with him in New York. They're on the same team. And he's done interviews where he said, so Scott brought up, VJ was we first meet this kid. He's in a baggage claim, reading the Bible on Sunday. And it's like a very serious kid. Carmelo's son has, when he's been interviewed about him, has said, I picked up habits from him in terms of my diet, my approach to workouts, my game day prep, right? What am I going over? Do I have a methodology to my warm up, right? Am I doing the same thing every day? Am I doing this? Do I have a certain routine I need to stick by? Like, he's highlighted VJ doing that stuff as you're talking about a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid in high school when, most of you could probably think long enough back or not that far removed from high school in some cases where you would say, when I was a teenager, like, yeah, I cared about sports and playing hard and all that. But yeah, you might not be eating the right things on game day. You're certainly not diving into the film and doing different things. And
that's not nothing too when it comes to Kiyan Anthony saying that coming from a Hall of Fame.
Right. He's obviously got his dad
already has a routine
yes.
from his dad.
Yeah. And so that type of stuff is unique for a kid of his age. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you shrug off the other concerns. When we sit here and talk about VJ, we've brought up many times, his future could just be he's an NBA role player, right? Like, there are real things he has to work out. Scott was very confident that he's going to be a shooter. He said 40%. He could be a 40% three-point shooter, which if VJ Edgecombe shoots 40% from three, there's a star ceiling there. I don't necessarily believe he's going to shoot 40% from three. I think above average is where I'd be shooting for, and that would be a big modifier for him.
It also depends a lot on the shot diet.
Shot diet,
only catch and shoot, is it pull-up shooting? Yeah.
So believer there, and that's important, right? But we still say, look, the shot's got to get there. The handle is something that I think all of us would say needs a lot of work, has to be able to go left, has to develop some go-to moves. And I think the thing I've highlighted a lot is because of the issues with his handle and his confidence in his athleticism, I think there are times when he just gathers way too far out and he thinks, well, I'm just going to jump over or around this guy.
Which, to be fair, if I had that kind of athleticism, I might be a little bit unrealistic too.
Yeah, certainly a little bit. But I think that's something that if you talk to a scout, you talk to an NBA coach, executive, they're pinpointing something like that as if he cleans that up, right? You put him with a development guy, a Rico Hines, a staff, or whoever his trainer individually might be at the next level, you're going to be working a lot on that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it's about how much you think that can be refined, how much of that is just, this should be our base level expectation moving forward. So yeah, he's, as we've said throughout the process, I think all of us have him in a group here in this post-Harper tier. It's just ultimately where you fall on him within that tier.
All right, so I'll give some thoughts on it when we come back. We're going to take a quick pause. We had a long interview there to start the show off. So we got to do our thing, pay some bills. So we take a quick pause, come back, get some more thoughts, throw some names in terms of how these guys, how he might look in a situation with the Philadelphia 76ers, of course, in a potential winning spot as they try to get back into the postseason. We'll do all that when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. And I need to tell you about Hall of Fame. We just talked about Carmelo Anthony in the Hall of Fame, but this is a different type of Hall of Fame, and this is the Hall of Fame app. Got to get the Hall of Fame app, everybody, because what it does is we talk about these finals in the NHL and in the NBA right now. You're trying to get those last bets in to make sure that you maybe hit pretty big and hit consistently over these last few games where you can build up a nice little nest egg for maybe the baseball season, going into the football season during this summertime right here. And HOF helps you do that. This is not your buddies group chat full of just hot takes all over the place. HOF app is built to fix any heartbreak that you may have in losing that one leg on that parlay that you may have put together thinking that you really did a good job. You probably did, but you didn't have enough research to get over the top with that. So the HOF app gives you access to advanced stats, historical data, and powerful tools to help you get smarter. This app is built for the everyday sports fan, so it's easy and intuitive to use. So you'll get an idea of your parlay's chances to hit and identify weak legs so you can weed them out before you place that bet. So you always look at it and you see 6, 7, 8, and it's that one that gets you in trouble. Well, maybe you chop that down to that 6 instead of that 7 or that 8, and you are going to be in a good spot to hit overall. And maybe the best part overall with HOF is our listeners, they get a 7-day free trial and a 50% off their first month. Just download the HOF app and use code PHLY at checkout. The App Store and over 6,000 5-star reviews has you covered there. When you look at it and you're not sure, well, those 5-star reviews will help you out a little bit. It's safe to say HOF has already helped a lot of people bet smarter. HOF isn't just about the parlays. It's about the player props, game lines, totals, and more, giving you the tools to break down trends, spot value, and make smarter bets across every major market. For a limited time only, our listeners not only get a 7-day free trial, but they also get 50% off of their first month when they use code PHLY at checkout. Just download the HOF app on iOS and Android or visit hofbets.com, enter code PHLY, and you're all set. Also, have to tell you about Mando. Got to smell good. You work out, work up that sweat out there playing some basketball, some football, running around the track, whatever it might be. And you got to go to Mando after you take that shower. That men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of the man's body smelling fresh and clean. And Mando overtly calls out more colorful parts of the men's body, such as the pits, the belly buttons, the lower regions, the cracks, the grundles, and more. Got to get in there. There's a sense of gear towards men with options like bourbon leather. That's the can of deodorant spray that I have. How about Clover Woods, Mount Fiji, and Pro Sport? And whatever one it is for you, whatever one, floats your boat, you got it. I was telling you the other day when I was talking about this product that I was over my cousin's. He was cleaning up a little bit, and I saw the orange can, and I said, that's Mando. He said, how do you know about it? I said, well, it's a sponsor on the show now. You should know that because you watch the show anyway. But that's beside the point. We don't have it only. Others have it as well. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO wasn't being misdiagnosed and was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. You got to get in there, clinically proven for it to control odor better than a shower with soap alone 12 hours after a shower. The average man's grundle odor level was about 5 out of 10. Well, Mando makes sure that odor level is at 0 out of 10. So jump on in there. Get in there, make sure that you take that shower. Smell good. Use code PHLY at shopmando.com. Our special offer for listeners, our new customers, get $5 off that starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off that starter pack. Shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast, where we had an opportunity to speak to Coach Scott Drew. Have a pretty good conversation with him.
Yeah.
Like that Mando?
I just like it because I feel like, we get to teach, not teach, but at least try to help inform some people about draft prospects, about basketball. Now we get to teach them new words. Who was somebody in there? Gavini, I think, wondering what grundle was. Yeah.
No one asked the same question.
I'm not going to tell you.
Do a little Googling for yourself. So, Devon, what was a big takeaway or a few takeaways from our discussion?
Right at the top, when he threw out as you said, he's going to boost his player. And he's had a lot of pros as we asked him in there in the conversation. But he goes Russell Westbrook and Dwayne Wade. With the athleticism. He didn't say he was going to be that type of player. He said the athleticism as a young Dwayne Wade and a young Russell Westbrook. So I thought that one jumped out immediately of telling what type of athleticism he has. And it's different when it's the 6'3" guy, Derek, versus when he measures out and he looks at he's going to be a 6'5" player, Kyle, in the NBA. So with that type of athleticism, getting out in transition, finishing in the open floor, but also then adding that defense where he's that two-way player, the stat sheet stuffer that's willing to do anything to win a basketball game. Will it play out? None of us know. But the only way for us we saw what we saw, but then we get a chance to speak to somebody who actually saw what he said. And it's not as if when Kyle asked the question about the shooting, it wasn't perfect. They saw that he needed to change it. And so much so where he feels like he can at least be a shooter on the pro level. The 40%, that's outstanding. We have to see it, though. But one thing we do know is that he has changed it, and the mechanics look pretty good. It's not broken. It's a pretty good-looking jump shot for whether it's to catch and shoot, and if he eventually turns into something off the bounce and being able to do that. And I immediately started to think of when people start to call him the role player that he might be, and you don't take that at number 3. Look, you might be right. This draft may not be as deep as people thought it might be, but there's some pretty good high-end talent here. So when you look at his role coming in potentially, and he's playing behind Maxey, Joel Embiid, Paul George, we know about Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes when it comes to the scoring. So my question was going to be, and we're probably going to do this at some point, but I look at a player like Kason Wallace in the role that he has with Oklahoma City Thunder. A player like Aaron Nesmith. Now, that's a second-round pick, but just what the size and what his role is next to a star guard in that backcourt and playing his role. He has become a playoff player and understanding who he is. Some think he can be a starting point guard on other teams and run his own unit. But for where he is right now and what he could potentially be, and we continue to point this out when we talk about these prospects, they are still 18 and 19 when we're talking about pros right now at 22, 23, 24, going into their primes of what they do, but it's more of what they impact their basketball team and their value and their role next to those types of players. And those are the names, those are just 2 names that popped in my head immediately of fitting on a basketball team. I don't know that he's going to get to that, but he just kind of reminds me of that, of doing anything and everything to try to win for your team.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think Scott really hammered that I think is absolutely true, right? You're taking him because you believe you're getting some certainty in whatever happens with this kid's career, right? If he hits 99th percentile outcome, 1st percentile outcome, every outcome for him, you feel some certainty, like he's going to figure out a way to impact the game. Right now, that doesn't mean he's going to be someone who impacts the game at a value of a 3rd overall pick, right? Or maybe what you want from a 3rd overall pick. There are a lot of outcomes where he probably profiles more as DeAnthony Melton, a Kason Wallace, a Alex Caruso with more shot creation, right? Or Alex Caruso with better 3-point numbers, right? Yeah. Some more consistent offense. Like those are real outcomes. Or maybe he's like a Jalen Suggs, right? Jalen Suggs is a good player for the Orlando Magic, high-level defensive player, and somebody who I think you can have as a critical part of a very good team. But Jalen Suggs, if he's your guy leading the backcourt, you're going to run into issues with. So a lot of it hinges on how much do you think he can improve the handle and how good is that shot going to be? Because the defense gives him a floor. The instincts and the ability to make plays off the ball as a cutter, as a transition player, all that is going to give him that NBA career of 12 to 15 years that Scott is talking about, unless there's an injury, right? Where you have to make the decision on VJ is how high do I think his ceiling is? How good do I ultimately think this guy can become? And how likely is it that he can be that player here specifically, right? Because if you're making a general big board, you're just saying, I think this guy is the best out of 100 prospects, whatever. When you're making one for the team, it's how good do I think this guy can be here in this context with this coaching staff and this roster, even if you say there will probably be some changes to both roster and staff over time. That's the $1 million question. And it's why, we get, Derek and I specifically get branded as because we're not super high on Ace, we get branded as, well, why would you take VJ at 3 and you think he's going to be this? And no, I really don't. Like, I don't feel confident about any of these guys at their star ceiling. Right. And so where I come back to is I feel a degree of certainty about this kid that he's going to be good, where other guys I think have outcomes where I think they won't be NBA rotation players. I think they're guys that you get to the playoffs and whether it's decision-making defense or whatever else, I can see them just being either played off the floor or not good enough to be on the floor. I think VJ is a long-term pro that you can trust in big moments, but ultimately we're going to find out.
Yeah. No, Kyle and I have never been, like, even the Wade stuff. We're talking about the Wade stuff because Scott brought up the Wade stuff. Yeah. We've never brought that up as a likely
And he also clarified early athleticism.
Yeah.
That's it.
it's, so much of this is you are projecting outlier development. None of these are necessarily likely. Like Kevin Durant isn't a likely outcome for Ace Bailey. Dwayne Wade isn't a likely outcome for VJ. It is tough to figure out who is going to make that jump. And right now, we've mentioned this before, I don't have VJ as my third ranked prospect on my board. I also don't have Ace. You can probably narrow it down based on what we've said before, but he is not necessarily like, I do have some trepidation over what exactly can he be as a high level offensive player. And I think the key to that is going to be, because we can talk about athleticism. He doesn't have that first step with the ball in his hands like someone like Wade. How much, if he improves his handle over the next couple of years, can we start seeing, because like when you see him really pop as an athlete, it's off ball cutting, it's in transition, it's coming in for spectacular offensive rebound flying dunks.
And he's similar to Ace in that way, by the way, right? When they have an advantage that's already created for them, like that's when you see Ace's athleticism actually pop, right? He's on the second side and somebody's rotating, beats the closeout, and then it's 1-2 dribbles to the rim, dunk, reverse layup, whatever it is. VJ's not that dissimilar in that way, right? Like, and I think part of the math you have to do with VJ, Derek and Devon, is how much stronger does this guy get, right? Because some of his issues are also, he's got like a good frame for his age and his size, but he's going to have to absorb a lot of contact. That was what was like, if you would talk about Dwayne Wade, he was just bulldozing people, right? That he got to the line, I think his sophomore year in college, like 7 or 8 times a game, right? He is just putting people through the basket. That is not VJ right now. And without that strength, it is harder to play the power game that I think you want him to play over the long term. So, how much weight can he put on? How much stronger can he get? That's going to be a critical component for him to hit his ceiling.
But I also do wonder, like, how much can you improve that first step if he tightens up that handle a lot? And obviously that's true for Ace too. But I think, there is a middle outcome. I think everyone's like either Dwayne Wade or, if you listen to Brian in the chat, Zaire Smith. There is so many middle grounds, and it's interesting to sit there and go through, all right, well, this is 20th percentile outcome. This is 40th percentile outcome. This is 60, 80, 100. And I agree with what Kyle was saying earlier. Pretty much all of them, I think, are useful NBA players who could be in a rotation. A lot of them can be third options and really good third options at that. But what can you do if you do unlock some of that ball handling? Is there maybe more offensive ceiling than we're giving him credit for? I think that's real interesting to project.
All right, let's take a final pause here. And when we come back, we'll keep it going, get to the Super Chats as well as we hang out with you after speaking with Coach Scott Drew, talking about VJ Edgecombe right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
I want to remind you about the ball knowers. We had some people in the studio today complaining about 2 days off between now and between game 2 and game 3. It's a long time. It's a long time, but it does give you a chance to get some of those bets in. If you think you know ball, we've got the ball knowers bonus that we want to tell you about. For each game of the NBA Finals, all you have to do is pick the winner of the game. All you do, pick the winner. You can win a gift card to the PHLY merch store if you make the pick correctly. Here's how it works. First, click on the link in the description below and then make the pick. Then, when you place an order in the ALLCITY merch store with a $25 minimum, if you pick correctly, you get a gift card to the merch store for the same amount as your original order. One important thing, you must click on the link in the chat in our show notes to qualify for the gift card. Once again, for the ball knowers, make your pick, then place an order. If you pick correctly, you're going to get a gift card from us for the same amount of your order.
And guys, this summer, the ultimate fan experience is coming to New York City. Fanatics Fest is taking over the Javits Center June 20th through the 22nd. 3 days of nonstop sports, culture, and collectibles with your favorite athletes, creators, and celebrities like Cooper DeJean, Brian Dawkins, Nick Foles, Allen Iverson, Dawn Staley. Maybe you like Pete Davidson. He's apparently going to be there too. I don't know who the audience in our show is for Pete Davidson, but they're all under one roof anyway. Snap a selfie with some legends, get exclusive merch, fantasy drafts, card drops, sneaker heat, live podcasts from some big names, NFL, NBA, MLB, WWE, Fanatics Fest. You can become part of the story. Tickets are going fast. Don't miss your shot to be part of history. Fanatics Fest, NYC, sports, culture, collectibles, all in one place. Go to fanaticsfest.com to get your tickets.
Welcome back. to the PHLY Sixers podcast. Make sure you go and sign up, become a member if you haven't already, or if you already are and you just forgot and you're like, wait a minute, I forgot to go check out the ALLCITY NBA Draft Guide that you can go and take a peek at, that has been written by our very own Derek Bodner, along with CHGO's Will Gottlieb. The Die Hard Draft Guide, your ultimate NBA draft resource to see where these guys have VJ Edgecombe ranked, Ace Bailey, some of the other prospects that we've been talking about and will continue to do so. Make sure you do that. Go unlock the draft guide now at the allphly.com. You scroll down just a little bit, and it's right there. We get the all-access pass to check out the in-depth scouting for these players. That's once again at allphly.com. All right, and that's why, I mean, guys, just talking about it, it's no slight on Edgecombe to look at the impact that two players in the NBA Finals right now of Kason Wallace, a pretty, first-round pick, and then even
top 10 pick. I believe he was the 10th overall, if I remember correctly.
And then Nembhard that fell into the early part of the second round, but it's just, again, what their role is and how they impact the game, how important they are to their basketball teams and what they do. The question, I think, for a lot of the chat that I would ask is not necessarily players, just more of what do you want for this basketball team that is looking to get back and be a
and that's why all
team.
the disagreement
what do you want?
Makes sense, right? Because there are so many schools of thought. Let's just say Joel Embiid. There's the Joel Embiid's done. Who cares about him? Joel Embiid is here. You have to build something that has him in mind. Then there's the draft philosophy stuff, right? We've talked about who's the best fit, who's the best player available. How do you weigh that? Then you say, what's the star chance? Are you an upside person? Are you a certainty person? Are you just a floor? Like, I can't take someone with a low floor. And they all these different dynamics interact with one another, right? So you're going to have a very split opinion, right? There are some people, I think what I have taken from the public and like the people who watch the show, people I talk to about the team, like if you're out on Joel Embiid, you seem to be more in the ace camp, right? Because it's the number one star is done. They need to swing for the fences and take an upside swing on ace. Like, I get that mentality, right? I do think generally top of the draft, you should be going for star potential, right? I'm not drafting for safety in the top 5. I don't really believe in that as a general premise. But then you have to get into, well, why do you think someone is safe? Why do you think someone has star upside? And I think the hardest part for me, for both Ace and VJ, Ace, the star upside I can't see because guys who turn the ball over and can't pass like that, there is no star ceiling for me, right? There are very few examples of guys who are as ineffective as playmakers and turn the ball over and take a million mid-range shots. That the star model doesn't exist for that player. On the other side of it, on VJ, and I've said this many times, a guy who's not willing to take what I would deem star shots, air quotes around that, tough pull-up jumpers at all levels, I don't see a path where that person becomes a star. So I'm not evaluating either of those guys as like, this guy will become a star for different reasons. And it's why we will talk about Trey Johnson in the lead up to this draft. I think I will probably land on, if I'm taking a star shot at 3, that's the guy, because I think he has the star shot hunting or willingness. He's got the mechanical skill, and it's the intersection of all that. But that's a discussion for another day. There's just, I get why there's disagreement. I'm okay with having disagreement. With that. Like that's, it's just, it's hard to wrap your mind around this team specifically because there's just so much baggage and so much nonsense that when the starting point is Joel Embiid, it's like, how do you untangle the rest of it?
Yeah, and then you get away from the centerpiece of for the people who, while you love Joel Embiid, there are no more centers that are going to drive you into the winning of a championship outside of Jokic and Embiid. So then you don't consider Queen and you don't consider Malawak, at least at number 3, where you don't even look their way. You want that star potential at the guard spot or the wing spot. in this draft, and you're not even considering those guys pretty much anymore.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily believe in their star upside anyway. No, I think we've said this before. It comes down to me really for three people. The two that we're debating really here, and Trey Johnson. Again, I said I didn't have either Ace or VJ at number 3, and I just said there's 3 people in consideration. So you can kind of figure it out. I'm not being all that. But it is, and part of the reason that Trey, I think, has moved up for me is I just believe in the star equity more than I do, especially on offense, more than I do for either of these two. But there are going to be significant projections you have to make for any of the 3, whether it is Trey and his ability to get all the way to the rim and actually leverage his athleticism into functional half-court athleticism and creating mid-range and shots at the rim, whether it's Ace and the recognition and the handle, VJ and the handle. Like, they all have similar, Kyle's pointed this out before, there's not a lot of great dribblers in this draft class, which makes it really
they're
tough.
3 guys who can dribble the basketball.
Which makes it really tough to project.
One of them's a 6'9" big who can't defend anybody.
Yeah. Other than that. So when we sit here and we're like, you're sitting here picking apart any of them. Yeah, I get it. They all take very significant projections, but there is at least some comfort with VJ. And look, again, I don't have VJ 3, but there's some comfort with VJ that he's going to buy into his role. He's going to excel in the role player stuff. And that's a lot of things. Like the version of Ace Bailey that I'm really intrigued by is sort of like that third option, is that off-ball shooter, is that weak side help protector, defender, and versatile defender. But there's so many other things. Like I think some people just think like, hey, if you can make a catch and shoot 3, you can be a role player. There's so much processing that goes into it. There's so much buying into a role and not taking bad shots. There's so much connective passing and communication. And there's just some uncertainty over how much Ace is going to be able to pick that up early on in his career. Later on, sure, but I do worry a little bit like, and look, you don't make, and this is part of why, well, they've got a draft, they've got too many guards. I don't really care because you don't make any decisions based off like, well, how does he fit next to a 35-year-old Paul George and a Joel Embiid that we don't know how much he's going to play basketball? I don't care. But I do think it's going to be, it might take some time to sort of figure out some of those role player habits to develop.
So my final question would be then too, for even the people again that I threw it at, what do you want? Do you have faith in the Sixers developmental staff where you start off with Rico Hines that people have a pretty high opinion about, that he does do a lot of really good things? Can these players underneath this coaching staff improve on the things that we're discussing? Because as we've said multiple times, the draft starts with the Sixers because 1 and 2 are 1 and 2 for a reason. 3 on down for all of these players, everyone has something that they need to improve on. It's just a matter of what you feel the most comfortable walking into Philadelphia and feeling that flaw that they have can be corrected. How much do you trust the coaching staff to correct that flaw?
I mean,
and the player to absorb that and get coached.
I'm not making, look, we've talked a lot on the show. Like 4 of the last 6 coaches of the year have been fired by their teams. Coaches to me are too, especially on a team that just disappointed this much, coaches are too temporary for me to really factor that too much into the equation. You don't know who on the assistant staff, much less Nick Nurse, is going to be here in 2 years.
Sure.
So I would not bank on, well, I trust this coach, so that because of that, I'm willing to draft this player. It's just
no. I think the case that I would make is I believe in our talent ID in the draft, right? So if I'm the Sixers, and what I would say, and I've said it many times, right? I'm not a huge trade down guy unless you're getting a haul, because I have so much faith in the people who have been making these picks, right? And that's not just Daryl Morey. It's the scouting apparatus. It's everything that goes into that. If they identify someone at 3 that they say, I believe this guy has more star equity, I believe he makes the most sense for us, I'm inclined to, I don't really care who it is, right? It doesn't matter that I'm a little down on Ace compared to our general fans. I have some trust in the scouts, right? And so I will say that if whoever they draft, VJ Ace, cool. Let's roll with it. Let's see what happens. We'll circle back on this discussion in 4 years.
And we'll keep it going right here on allphly.com with a little OT, little overtime, allphly.com. Thanks on the Fast TV side. We really appreciate it. And we will certainly get to a lot of that stuff there going forward. A lot of lively discussion here with VJ. And we even said it. We did give you a heads up, Pump. Kyle told you yesterday at the end of the show.
Told you it was going to be a guest that you were not thrilled with.
Get ready, and we were ready. So you know what? Pump has Super Chat, so let's get to the Pump It Up Super Chat of the day, which is when going gets tough, late shot clock, defense pressed up, no passing lane, what's VJ's go-to move? Instant brick. Ace rising up, hitting that midi.
Well, he's definitely taking a midi.
Yes.
With the fire emoji.
You'll make 34% of them. No, look, Ace, I've said this time and time again, Ace is a better shooter. Even though the numbers are close, I trust Ace's shot more. His shooting numbers are dragged down by his decision making.
Shooting and scoring? Or just shooting?
I think he's a better scorer, yeah. But there's more to the game than just shooting a basketball. And and again, right now I have VJ 4 and Ace 5. Like, I'm not telling you there is an obvious choice or a super big difference, but we get it. He's a good shooter. There's just more to the game of basketball than that. Just more to the game of basketball.
Yeah. Dribble, pass, shoot, defend. Those are the four things. Both of them have questionable handles. VJ's a better passer. Ace is a better shooter. VJ's a better defender. How you ultimately come out in those arguments,
again,
it's up to you.
What do you want for your basketball team?
Yeah.
And that's part of it. Brian also continues with the Pump It Up segment here. Well, you VJ fans can settle down. I just asked ChatGPT who the Sixers are going to draft at number 3, and it said Ace Bailey. Y'all know Daryl's secret weapon. Star.
I don't think Daryl Morey is asking ChatGPT who to draft.
I would guess not.
Just to be clear.
And I will say, because there's a contingent in the chat who thinks it is wild that we are even asking this question. FanDuel has it as basically even between VJ and Ace.
The betting odds have gotten a lot closer.
And
Ace was a prohibitive favorite as recently as a few weeks ago. It is a lot closer.
And Trey is moving
and they're all plus
well.
odds, by the way. So that's them saying. Here's one from our friend, colleague, Vincent Pellegrini, who says, Walker Kessler trade has to happen. 3 for 5 and Walker.
So this was going to be part of the news and notes because our friend Sarah Todd, who covers the Utah Jazz for the Desert News, she's the beat reporter. There was a report out there, Sarah, saying that they were looking, they were expected to listen to trade offers for Walker Kessler. All right, so 3 to 5, Kessler and 5, and then you take whatever player you feel. Trey Johnson, Con Knipple, VJ Edgecombe, Ace Bailey still available.
I like a trade with Utah in the sense that you can still get one of your priority guys at that spot, right? We've talked about if you go to 7 or 8 with New Orleans or Brooklyn, that can get real dicey real quick depending on how the board shakes out. You could be saying, man, am I taking the swing on Noah Essengay or CMB or Malawach or front court guys where there's some intrigue, but a lot of long-term questions. Obviously, Vince is higher on Walker Kessler than I am. He is not a priority ad for me personally, but
I can't take years of Vince crowing about them finally getting Walker Kessler. I'm out.
So you just need someone to trade for him to get it over with.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
All right. Teacher Got Game joins in on the Super Chat. Ace is a better rebounder than VJ, Kyle.
I mean, he should be.
6'9".
I don't know what you want me to say to that one. Of course it matters. Like, I do think Ace is I would stop short of, I think he's
I don't know if positionally he's a better rebounder.
Decent to above average rebounder.
Yeah.
He's not like a team defining rebounder.
No. And positionally, like if you're looking at Ace's or VJ's productivity as a rebounder for a shooting guard compared to Ace's productivity for a forward, it's pretty close.
And by the way, what I would say to that is rebounding in college, what you're looking for, at least what scouts and teams are looking for, rebounding is generally just a reflection of athleticism, right? Of functional athleticism. What you don't want to be is just a bad rebounder, because in most cases that says this guy is either getting pushed around or can't jump high enough or whatever it is.
Or doesn't want it.
Yeah, that's another part of it, right? The competitiveness part of it. So I think both of them are good for rebounders for their size. I think if you're just talking about Ace would come in and play the 4, 3-4, whatever, and is more immediate help as a rebounder. The problem for VJ would be he's a good rebounder for size and position, but to play him and these other guys, you're going to have a deficit, because if it's Maxey, McCain, and VJ, or 2 of those guys on the floor, there are going to be some holes in the lineup. But those are some roster structure concerns. And again, I'm not making a top 3 pick on, boy, this guy's got to fit hand in glove with Jared McCain, Paul George, and Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
That's just not.
I do also think, and I guess since I've already spoiled my top 5 big board, no point in trying to hide it and play coy with it anymore. But I think I'm getting close enough to having a strong preference to Trey, where like even trading down 2 spots, I'm getting nervous to do. Like I'm starting to separate.
Because I mean, Charlotte could take Trey, certainly. I don't know that they will, but he's definitely in play, starting at 3, anywhere onward.
I think, because in that scenario, they're trading up to get Ace at 3. Yeah. I think I'm pretty confident VJ goes 4 there, but I wouldn't be
so sure,
because somebody could trade up. Like you just never know. But yeah, I would be.
So you take your guy.
Nervous.
Yeah.
And also, if you're Charlotte, right? As we go through this argument for what the Sixers should do, if you're Charlotte, you have an even clearer case to be like, we need star upside, right? Because even though you have LaMelo, who's very talented, Brandon Miller has probably outperformed some people's expectations. You're not a serious team, right? Like you're not a team that's been anywhere close to winning, while VJ would be more like the culture, bring him in, he fits next to these guys. You could just say, if you're Charlotte, hey, we think Trey Johnson can be the featured offensive guy, so we're going to take him. Yep. So, yeah, I think anywhere after 2, Trey is in play. So if you believe he's 3, I'd then take him at 3 and don't move back and risk it.
Trey Johnson, man. Maybe we'll talk about him a little bit more soon.
Yeah, it is wild that because the tournament was pretty disappointing.
Very disappointing.
But I've watched a lot of Baylor and Rutgers games and talk myself back.
Kind of circle back a little bit. Ty with the late super chat says, if New Orleans includes Trey Murphy and 7, how would y'all like that as a trade back?
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
Now
we said before, I think you can maybe get Herb and 7. I don't think you're getting Trey and 7.
Yeah. So Ty, I think the reason we haven't talked about a Trey Murphy trade a ton is that trade probably requires you giving up more. If you're holding on to 7 in that deal, you are almost certainly giving up probably that Clippers pick. Maybe they're trying to haggle with you over, I don't know, like McCain or someone like that. They're going to ask for real stuff because Trey is productive, young, and on a good contract moving forward. He's a player that is in a archetype that all NBA teams love, right? Good size, good athlete, shoots the ball, can defend. If they said, we'll give you Trey and 7 for the contracts to match in 3, I'm calling in Adam Silver immediately. I would do that and not even think twice about it.
And Joe Dumars might.
I just don't think that's going to happen. So then it gets into
quickly.
How do you value the future picks and the other stuff you'd have to give up?
Yep, absolutely. All right.
And then look, let's say he trades up and they don't take Ace and Ace falls to 7, get Ace at 7 and you get Trey Murphy. Hell yeah. Give me that all day. That'd be fantastic. A lot of size and athleticism added in that draft in that way.
That would be interesting.
I don't think that's happening.
That would not happen.
I think if they're making that trade, it's Ace Bailey locked in at 3.
Because you guys talked about it, where a lot of that buzz is starting to swing where New Orleans has interest in Ace Bailey anyway. Folks, we appreciate everybody for hanging in there, checking out our conversation with Scott Drew. If you got in late, didn't know much of what we were discussing as far as Scott Drew goes, go back and check it out on our YouTube page, or just go to allphly.com, find your way there, and you'll see that interview. Don't forget about our conversation that we had last week with ESPN's Seth Greenberg, where he was very, 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 very clear that you build around Tyrese Maxey. And
very clear.
Yes,
emphasis on the very.
Very clear you build around Tyrese Maxey going forward. And I say that because I saw some people in the chat say, if you're looking to build around Joel Embiid today, you need your head examined as a basketball fan. So go check out our conversation with Seth Greenberg from last week, and our conversation today with Baylor head coach, and we appreciate him taking some time, Scott Drew, to talk about VJ Edgecombe and the person, the player.
Alessandro's talk before the show.
He was a big D'Alessandro's fan, everybody, when it came to the sandwiches, the cheesesteaks. D'Alessandro's fan.
I mean, you can tell he does his scouting.
Yeah. That he was not
Basketball,
no
off the
shade,
court,
obviously,
yep.
but he was not one of the tourist spots.
Yep.
No, he was
That was
not.
one of the more local recommended ones.
Yes, he was. So, folks, again, get ready for more conversations. We're going to try to effort some more people to talk about these prospects so we can get the chat going there and going back and forth. 15 days away, everybody. 15 days away from the draft.
Creeping up.
It's creeping up.
up.
But, man, could it get here faster, please, so we can start to get into, everything that goes with it. And certainly Summer League will then follow, and a ton of conversations overall going forward. All right, let's get to the world famous roll call, starting with Scott Drew.
Everybody. Yeah, first, obviously, as Devon has said, big shout out to Scott Drew for coming on the show. Hopefully we can get some more insight from some other basketball luminaries over the next couple weeks and moving forward. Thank you to Scott for stopping through today. Thank you to Mom's grandchildren, first up. Thank you, Mom. What's up, Mom? Thank you for stopping through. Eugene Ross, Jess with the Purple
What
Heart.
up, Gene?
Money Mar,
Purple
Old
Heart.
Dirty Yams,
Old
Bootzilla,
Boots.
Brian Knight, SB Cole,
Knight.
Jay the Jungle, Doug Craig,
What up, Jay?
Teacher Got Game, Kareem Williams, DC Marley.
What up, Reem?
Who else is in here today? X-Man,
X.
Prophet One, the Pump It Up segment of the show, Brian Pumper. Hello, sir. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
The letter N.
Men in
What
Black.
else did we have today? Our friend Vincent Pellegrini with a Walker Kessler, very on brand
Thank you,
super
Vinny.
chat.
I have not seen Vince this excited in a very long time.
We got Sup, I'm Brian in the chat.
What's up, Brian?
Better love somebody.
Love somebody, love
Phi
somebody.
Chi, Densley. What's up to Densley?
What up, Densley?
Stopping through. Mellow 3-point.
Oh, Ace.
Who else we got in here today?
What else we got?
Igavini.
What's that?
Will. Oh, my computer just
I
froze.
saw Val in there earlier.
Val is definitely in there. Smy Guy. Jacob Lentz, the #1 Ace Bailey fan in all of Philadelphia, not named Brian Pumper, stopping through.
What up, Jake?
Who
Did
else?
you get Purple Heart?
Saw Purple Heart
Edwin.
early.
I did.
Early
Edwin,
shout out.
thank you for stopping through. My girl Winona, obviously.
Hey, Nona.
Jesse Bond.
Jesse.
All right. Headfa, obviously, if I didn't say Headfa.
Edfa.
Hello, Cheddar.
Big on the Noah conversation in there.
Oh, boy. Prophet One. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Be with us again tomorrow at 3 p.m. as you are and we are every day. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. And hit the thumbs up to say thank you to our president of basketball operations, super producer Bree, holding it down, coordinating the guests, making it all happen. Thank you, Bree.
Transitions, all that stuff.
Making it all run very smoothly. Thank you to Bree, as always. Thank you to you guys. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Do not miss it. Until then, take care, be safe, have a nice day.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.